It's Gypsy Man, and I think I called it a few weeks ago that the Glocks are popular again. You know, ever since this sick stuff, the Glocks you just see them all over the place now. Everybody's jumping on Glock right now, especially when it seems like they possibly could have allegedly got their contracts back with some of these agencies. You know, to include the military possibly, but you know, I'm just a user. I don't get no money from it, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it. But I told y'all, I mean, if you want the tried and true with no gimmicks, and you know it's gonna work, it's gonna be reliable. The Glockers were back in style. You know what I'm saying? But we're just gonna talk about a little bit of that. But I want to talk about what my understanding has been with the difference between the old school OG Leopold Delta Point Pro and the 507, the Holoson 507 comp. And I'm a fan of both of them. Difference being that I prefer green. Delta Point does not have a green yet, but if they decide to get one, matter of fact, let me just talk about why I like both of them, even with their differences. Now, of course, the Holosun is basically a one-stop shop. It has the all-in-one features. You can change the reticles. It has a large window. The glass is clear, and the dot is green, and you can get the red if you want to. I prefer green, and it has the batteries. It's easily accessible on the side, and it has the up and down for the brightness on the side. Now, those are all pluses for the Holosun. They did their homework. The Delta Point Pro has been out for a lot longer, but I will go to say, I want to say that the glass on the Delta Point Pro is a bit different than the Holosun. The window is taller on the Holosun, but they're both just as wide as one another. Maybe the Delta Point being a slightly wider, but nonetheless, the dot stays in the window. There's something about the way the dot is transmitted onto the glass on the Delta Point Pro that I like a lot. I don't know if it's the color of the dot, but they have a good glass on it. They're both aluminum. They're both built strong. Uh, it's more of like a built-in cover for the Delta Point, which is very nice. The Holosun sits lower on the gun, and that's even if I had it on a Glock. It'll sit lower than this, but the Delta Point Pro does have an option of you buying their rear sight, which is very nice and quality aluminum, and it has clicks when you make the adjustments. And then you'll have to put a very large front sight on the front, but it just kind of just blends into the gun when you're using it with the dot. So it really doesn't make a difference because I'm not looking at the front sight. I'm looking at the dot. So it doesn't make me know never mind, and it fits in all of my holsters. So I like them both for different reasons. I prefer to do my competitions with the Holosun. And I'm so happy that I was able to fit this onto my EDC for carry. So I'm very happy about that. And, you know, I like the Delta Point Pro. The difference is with this features, like I said earlier, all aluminum, it's built tough. The battery can be accessed on top for the battery changes, very easy. The clicks are very audible. The only downfall that this current version of the Leo Point Pro, not knowing if they're going to make another one, is that the clicks are done on top of which is basically the battery cover. But there's a way to do it so that you can see the up and down, the brightness of the dot. Once you get that little technique down, you can just do it here, and you can still see the dot and make your adjustments up and down. The only downfall that this has, to be honest with you, not even talking about the size of the height of the compared to the Holosun, which is the advantage given to the Holosun, is that you have to go all the way up and all the way down to get your settings for your brightness. With that said, once you find a good setting, you can pretty much keep it there. It has auto on off just like the Holoson. Um, and it's better to veer towards having your dot a little too bright than a little too dark. And then you can just keep it there. With all of that said, why do I have my 45 out? I'm talking about the popularity of the Glocks, especially when you know I've already been on them. Because it's wintertime, fall, and this is my fall EDC gun. So it's coming back out, it's going in the belt, right? And I've been waiting for it, you know. Although I love carrying my 26, it's time for a little bit more capacity. Not that I've ever needed it, but it's better to need and not have than, you know, need and have than to not need and not have. I know I messed that up, and I'm not going to edit. You guys get the gist of what I was trying to say. I think it's have and not need than to need and not have. That's the correct way of saying it in so many words. So, and I also have the staccato out because this week I shot a qualifying competition, a qualifier match with 6 opportunities to raise your grade in whatever category that you decide to shoot in. And this guy had the Atlas Apollo there. I shot with a Glock and smoked the guy with the Apollo. Even though we weren't going against each other, because I don't think of qualifying matches as you going against each other. You're really going against the course, more of a golf mentality. But this guy was talking about how much he bragging about how much he spent on the gun, and he's clearly an amateur. Clearly, his shooting category or grade is a little lower than whatever. I want to say that gun put him in an open category, and that's not an open gun. So he's at a disadvantage there because of the way the scoring is when you go from carry optics to limited optics to open. So a lot of disadvantages to that gun, period, in competition. So why should you spend over $7,000 as an amateur, no sponsorships, on a gun? And don't get me wrong, beautiful gun, but very unnecessary. And I say all this to say, it ain't the gun, it's the operator. You can train your ass off, but some people are just more talented, right? I'm not talking about myself because there's always somebody better. So, they can shoot with a damn Taurus. It doesn't matter what they shoot with. They're just great shooters, right? Whatever they use. They're just that talented. But you can't buy skill. You can't buy points. And I'm going to stop there because you can definitely buy speed. But what if, speed can be attained with anything that you have, right? Depending on how you set it up and how much you work with it. Because my triggers on my Glock are close, about a pound off from where my staccato is at little, about 2.9 to 3 pounds. And my competition trigger on my Glock 34 is probably between 3.5 and 3.9 pounds. And when the buzzer goes off, I can't even feel the difference. I'm so focused on the targets. I'm not focused on, take up, trigger reset, and all that stuff. I mean, I know it's all happening, but it's not something that I'm not really concerned with that. I just want to hit the target as quickly as possible. It's all about the hit factor. But I wanted to make a quick video about the things that are going on with me right now. Another thing that I was reading, as I, of course, had to look up the Atlas and some information on it. And I want to talk about the importance of being able to maintain your own guns, because Atlas charges $300 for your gun maintenance. And I'm sure that may include if you need parts and all that stuff. But look, y'all, I make these videos for nothing, for y'all to see that everything can be accomplished by yourself. A little bit of time, a little bit of know-how, a little bit of reading and watching, and you could do all these things. Save your money, right? Save your money. Go buy some spare parts and just try them in your gun. You can always put the factory settings back into the 2011s. The Glock Gen 5s are a little bit easier to deal with. spring changes on a Glock, the earlier versions, our Glocks are actually finicky guns. If you change too many things, too many springs, and don't change it where there's balance in that spring tension in different places, firing pin and the trigger spring. So be careful with that. It's just not something that you could just jump into and all parts could fit all guns. But with that said, don't be scared to deal with these guns. Don't be scared to try things different. Don't assume that one gun's gonna be better than the other, because I shoot better with my Glocks than I do with my staccato. But the staccato shoots very well. It's just something about not having to deal with safeties when you're preparing to shoot, even though that doesn't become a problem once you get a hang of it. But it's a possibility. So Gypsy Man just wanted to make this quick video, just a quick chat, and we'll come with something different next time. Peace.